Hi, Greg Perry, the historic preservationist. We have a new patient here in the studio. This is a late 18th century walnut, solid walnut, tall case clock from Reading, Pennsylvania. The name is George Fix. And we also have a helper here today. He's an apprentice. So this is Mr. Jack. Um, but nevertheless, we're going to focus right here first on the dial. So considering that George Fix, F-I-X, worked in from 1791 maybe to 1797, very short span, produced about 20 clocks in that time period. And the dial is in excellent shape, doesn't appear to have any repainting, have black leaded it already. So we have a nice sweep second hand here, but this is rough. Where this has come from, thinks it hasn't ran in over 100 years. I mean, the globes are impeccable. There's going to be a little cleanup here on the moon dial, but the whole dial is going to be cleaned. No restoration beyond that. Apparently, it looks like this clock may have fallen over because we have the pivot point here for the moon dial. It's bent, so we have some dial work to do and some hand coloring, but it's deoxidizing everything and derusting and so forth and so on. We're just going to take a quick look at this guy, but this is some nice dirt, but a fresh find here. We have gut on here. Oh my God, this may not have been cleaned for over 100 years. So we're gonna run through this maybe in 5, 6 episodes of different phases of cleaning and restoration on the base, the movement on the dial, and you can see here how the the moon dial's been bent back. So we're going to restore this entire clock, and we'll do a series of videos doing this. So that's your movement. Again, thank God the dial's in such excellent shape, and we have the pendulum with a broken suspension spring, which it would have gotten a new one anyway. And this is a typical American clock, um, and this is out of lead. What they would have done, they would have actually taken sand and they would have leveled some sand off and they would have carved it out to a perfect sphere like this. And they would have poured the lead in it. Then they would have taken a very thin piece of brass and peened this brass over that perfectly half round piece of lead and peened it very carefully and then polished it up. And we're going to polish this guy back up and the lower block here and get the corrosion off where the rating nut is and so forth and so on. But this is just an 8-day American movement, and I just want to point something out. Typically doesn't work all the time. When we have plates like this, we're seeing a cutout. Sometimes that was a signature of the maker, or in other times it was to save brass. Because imagine if they were doing 100 of these clocks, just the plates, and did the cutout front and back, how much brass they would sell. Brass was so bloody expensive and so difficult to mix in a vat on the floor with apprentices keeping a fire going. So very, very difficult here. But anyway, so yeah, so that indicates to me that George Fix on the dial made this clock movement. Otherwise, it would have been made in Liverpool in either as a full movement on the waxing or the sprues coming over, or as a kit form from Liverpool. So three ways tall case clock movements throughout the 18th century were sold from Liverpool. But if that was the case, they wouldn't have cut this out at the bottom. So again, you see a lot of this by an Isaac Brokaw of New Jersey. He does a lot of cutouts at the bottom. So I think we have a real gem here. And I mean, this whole movement is seized up. I don't want to even try to move the governor or anything because we don't want to break any pivot points. So okay, so let's move on to the case. Okay, moving on to the case. So we're going to start at the top and go down. So we have a carved cutout here, and you can see that this was cut out with carving tools and with I'm seeing abrasive file marks to try and make this round. They put a muslin fabric. This may not be original. Chances are it's not, but this was to get more sound out from the bell. Or we have to remember that the guy that made the movement, somebody made the dial, another person made the case. So maybe somebody liked this case that wanted this guy to make the movement for him, George Fix, and it wouldn't fit properly. So this is carved out to receive the bell at the top, and probably the bell even juts into this a little bit, where the 3/4 or 7/8 inch thick of the backboard. So we have a typical backboard here of pine. We have a white pine, a northeastern white pine here, not always used in Pennsylvania clocks. Pennsylvania clocks a lot of times had poplar, but they do interchange and interdisperse wood. But this is definitely old growth walnut. And you can see down the side here, you can see the graining structure is very different than new walnut. Um, you know, this tree was probably 400 or 500 years old when it was used in the early 1790s. So right now, it's a 500-600-year-old piece of timber that this clock case is encompassed by. But for early on, I mean, late 18th century, and particularly an isolated place like Reading, Pennsylvania, you would have had, these small detailed moldings applied here, and uh, again, a lot of molding work on this plane. We have the fluted quarter columns with turned capitals. You're seeing the nice walnut pegs that are holding, the front establishment together. And this is somewhat of a lamb's tongue, but not really. It's just kind of flared down. Typically, a lamb's tongue, particularly in Chester County, is going to go back down and up. And we have Mr. Jack here. So we have a nice flat door, and this is something that George Fix's clock dials, he probably stipulated this right here. If we take a closer look here, this is just like a little bit of engraving, probably with some knife work. And I've seen this on several George Fix. When I say several, maybe I said 4 or 5. Unfortunately, something has happened here. Maybe somebody tried to break into the lock. They lost the key, and they did some damage. But we're going to work on that too. Lock with some nice old nails holding it on. And we look on the inside. So we have some cracks, which is typical, and I can see a lot of hand planing marks. And another indicator that this may not have been, this was a case chosen for this clock movement. And that's how they would have done them. You would have had coffin makers and some furniture makers making cases. So they had to belly this out for the swing of the pendulum back and forth. And here we have some screw holes that were screwed into the wall. We have 2 here, so it's been around a few times. Maybe this has been in 3 locations in its lifetime. That's pretty amazing when you think about it. And we have our molding at the mid base. This would have been called a turtle, and it's a kind of a Grecian, a geometric lined with moldings. And we're missing a piece here, so that's going to have to be made with some hand planes. And some separation. So this has been in a very dry house. Possibly when we hit the summertime, this panel is going to float and expand, and it'll be tight against the frame on this side. We have the remnants of bracket OG feet at the bottom. They're a little bit worn. 2 things could have happened because of the height of the clock. They could have abraded them down, or there could have been some rot if this clock was essentially on a brick floor at one time. So a couple things going on. But this clock, due to the fact that this movement probably to the old owner's knowledge has around for about 100 years, this clock has lost its finish literally. The shellac finish, remember, shellac oxidizes. It's like snow on a 20-degree day out. I mean, you may think that it's under freezing, but oxidation eventually will alleviate shellac as a finish over a 50, 75, 100-year period, depending on the thickness, the type of shellac used, and the type of other gum and constituents put in that shellac mixture. So we're going to take the last part of our video here. We're going to move on to the bonnet. So continuing on with the bonnet, or I like to refer to these because they originated in England, the hood of the clock. Appears all original. Again, high oxidation period on it. Very little finish remains, but really nice color. It's a deep reddish chocolatey brown. So it's wonderful. Remember, these were no stain was applied to this timber initially. So what it's had, it's been in some shorter homes. So somebody has either cut this off or broken it down, but this has to be restored. So he's got a very quite archaic shell here of sorts. Not fully developed. The lobes are not fully developed. Convex, concave, alternating. And this guy has come off, and it does line up perfectly. So his finials are very representative. I've seen some more that look more like corn stalks, but considering the architectural texture of of the cases. The rosettes are nice, but I mean, some of us actually represent a husk of corn, showing a corn that maybe would be husked down here and it was more shaped round. So this one once was what this is, and it's been cut down to accommodate a low ceiling. So its plinth, is fluted on three sides, and these plinths are fluted on all four sides. So I'm missing one plinth and one finial, and I have to redo a center finial. So, and again, just with some of these small striations down, almost reminiscent of what we saw on the upper case door. So I can't open the door now. I don't know if it's locked or there's been a contortion of wood drying out. Uh, let's see. We have this colonnette here from this on my side, and you can see they're tenoned in the top and doweled in the bottom, and somehow it broke out. So I'm glad we have original equipment here, and we have these applied pilasters, for no better term, vertical, fluted, which is nice. It ties in the finials, and the rosettes are really nicely done. They really are, and it's almost like to me, it's almost like a sunflower. And you have some little carved action going on the side right here. And I don't know what that's supposed to represent, but it's all congruent into one. A little bit of fluting there under the backboard or the tympanum where the rosette is affixed. So and I love about these American clocks, particularly in Reading, they offered you nice big side lights or windows. And, these appear very original. The other side is cracked. The front glass, you can tell. Can you tell by the sound? Front glass has been replaced at some point. You don't have the waviness. I have a couple old pieces of glass. We'll recut something for the front. And again, we're going to see some. This is a dirty guy. He's been around for. You can see the dirt up there. It's 100 years or so in the same location as far as the family members know. But nevertheless, it's really good. It's tight. It's in good shape. And the interesting thing about these clocks, a lot of Pennsylvania clocks done in walnut, is just the weight of old growth forest, whether it be cherry or whether it be walnut. Absolutely amazing. I mean, this case weighs a ton as compared to English cases. A lot of them were veneered and some weren't veneered. But oh my God, just old growth compared to like maybe 70 years. Dealing with something that's only 100, 150 years old of similar timber. It's just day and night. The density is phenomenal, but it's that natural innate color. It's just very romantic, whether it's mahogany or walnut, whatever the case may be, or even cherry. They're just beautiful woods, and they actually glow so much under candlelight. So so anyway, follow us for this journey over a period of videos as we start attacking the case, the mechanism, and the dial. And don't forget to check us out on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. We have nearly 1,000 podcasts there, and my associate here and I will be working on this clock in the very near future. So Greg Perry, the Historic Preservationist, signing out.